8 years ago, a portal materialized, and the creatures emerged as one could expect. This occurrence was known as a magic wave since humanity was being totally wiped off. But let me guess what? People started to awake with this magnetic change on Earth. Talents, vocations, and even things like systems began to show. And just as in capitalism, where your birth wealth determines everything, in this world your talent determines everything. Right now we are at Jang Academy where the waking process is under progress. An elderly man reminds everyone that today is quite significant for each of their life. He orders them to start waking their talents by stepping forward. He is sure they are more than ready to be professionals given their years of study. Strength in this new environment is giving your life to defend mankind. The pupils are all eager. He advises them to wait since everyone will be called by their number. Boy Wang Shu, number 1001, claims that the day has at last arrived after years of life in this planet. Talented here fall common, uncommon, legendary, subdivine, and mythical ranks. Still today, nevertheless, there has never been a human of legendary stature among us. Most dream of waking as a mage or swordsman, other wanted classes including assassins, fighters, and summoners. The priest is the least coveted class since many awaken into it, but their healing is minimal. This implies that a war cannot be turned around, so the profession is regarded as negative. More forceful classes can grind and level off on their own using their skills, tools, and potions. Priests are a joke since they depend on others and must hide in order to grow experienced. Then someone shouts out Lin Yi. A pink-haired girl queries him about his intended class mage, warrior, assassin, or something else entirely. He says there is no use considering a class before witnessing which talent wakes up. She says she was only interested and shows an annoyed face. Among the pupils present is this girl Mumu. Every universe clearly has simps. This one is not different. Lin Yi keeps an eye on the guys looking at her as pats her head. A man with hands in his pockets whispers in the backdrop that Lin Yi acts all high and is useless. He always acts as though he is unique, yet everyone is confident his talent will be horrible. Mumu advises them to cease uttering such comments. The above-described Wang Shu wakes up a unique ranking talent in meantime. His buddies claim it's ideal for picking the warrior line of work. It's a strength amplification. He is, nonetheless, more fascinated in watching the protagonist. He wonders whether this man is indeed favored by the gods. Not too much should Mumu worry about it, Lin Yi advises. She wonders why he doesn't give what other people think any thought. Ever the idealist, the lad claims he will be the strongest. That is the only way to stop all that occurred. Desperate for cover, a family is seen fleeing with a toddler in their arms. Before the father can respond, a green creature suddenly materializes next to them and punches his stomach. The poor man falls on the ground. As the father orders Lin Yi to flee, he spots his mother clutching the creature. She seems eaten in a flashback evocative of Attack on Titan. The door opens and someone orders to photograph anyone survived. Apparently, he thereafter moved in with Mumu's family. Knowing how much mom looked after him, he wants to grow strong to guard them also. It's his turn last, and he calms her not to worry. She is, however, nervous while everyone else is excited to discover what ability this man would uncover. He walks onto the magic circle and finds himself in a galaxy instant. Examining what appears to be a massive star, he questions whether abilities awaken here. He extends his hand, and a blue dragon shows up floating above him as soon as he makes touch. A red dragon surfaces from underneath simultaneously. Both arrive in his body, and naturally he wakes a legendary rank talent. The system asks whether he wishes to keep the reversal of heaven and earth hidden. The reversal talent lets him convert positive skills into bad ones and vice versa. Higher degrees could potentially change the essence of things themselves. Any changed ability will eat 10% less mana for now. Any debuff will become a benefit and vice versa. Though he's not totally sure yet, this ability seems to be turned on and off as well. He sees himself healing even from any aggressive class. The issue is that this seems to influence just talents. This implies that it might not work if he has physical attack. The worst aspect is that priests attempting to heal him could unintentionally do injury rather. This talent clearly had the ability to be concealed. Nobody knows what talent he woke up as he backs off outside. Mumu approaches and probes, but he insists it has to be a secret for now. People around him begin muttering that he must have such a horrible gift he's ashamed to expose. Mumu's turn comes next to wake her gift. Once someone has awoken their gift, they have to choose their career from another field. He walks up to the female monument. You already know what he will decide upon. He needs some kind of damage control to offset the reversal. He so chooses the priest card. The monument even probes whether he is certain about this decision, and he answers. That starts the profession transformation, and he is surrounded in golden light. Still, stay back. The youngster wears a skull symbol on his chest, and this is the priest class attire. His stats are really poor right now, save for his legendary ability. His basic skills include of the healing art, which helps him restore 50 horsepower to a victim, and clairvoyance, which lets him replenish mana of another. He turns heavens and earth's reversal on active right away. This causes the healing technique to reverse and begin working 50 real damage. The benefit is that it goes beyond any defense, as actual damage does, and reversing clarity causes the target to lose 30 mana. Considering his succubus draining energy, he realizes this ability is ideal for running down mana so Magians cannot cast spells. His fighting approach has only one flaw. He has to exercise caution with allies. Apparently, the effect will also be reversed should someone try to heal or buff him. People are left gaping in wonder at someone choosing the worst line of work. Mumu wakes a famous skill called Bionic Tears. She may therefore call spirits from another realm to battle for her. Everyone is enthralled and agrees the goddess is really fantastic. She then picks Mage from the profession monument. Everyone is sure her legendary ability, and such a strong class will ensure her future. From a distance, nevertheless, an elderly guy notes he is more drawn in that one. He's interested as it's been a long time since a student decided on this career. A man behind him says the lad was not hesitant. Hence, there must be a cause. Mumu hurries it over and calls for Lin Yi in meantime. She asks whether he would want to partner up for a dungeon. She is already sporting her mage gear. Declining to hide his talent, he says he has own ideas. She asks him what he is going to do, clearly perplexed. But before he can respond, a note declaring the wolf cavern open flashes across. Anyone who realized their ability and decided on a career can enter. A few guys invite Lin Yi and Mumu to be part of their team. They even claim they would allow Lin Yi perform despite his meaningless line of work. He just turns down though. According to the instructor, dungeon play calls for cooperation. Nobody with exceptional ability can manage legions of demons by themselves either. The group turns to welcome the director, who advises that rivalries should be put aside in front of demons. Lin Yi makes clear he has nothing against the others. Simply said, he would rather travel alone to fully appreciate his experience increase. Still, the guy laughs at the notion of a priest performing solo. He counsels the young man to consider carefully and not gamble his life. Damage done in a dungeon does, after all, find resonance in reality. Though he insists he'll manage, the protagonist thanks him for the concern. He understands he must go alone if he is to level off rapidly. From far away, the director wonders why he seems so assured. Lin Yi reaches forward toward the gate. The system advises the novice to enter in a team as his test is perilous. He just says, though, that he will be going alone. Moments later, he is within the wolf dungeon. This is a highly challenging level 1-3 forest. The system alerts him not to get surrounded. Else, escape is impossible. If Lin Yi can at least get a B, it will be sufficient. Besides, he will find ideal recovery at the healing chamber along the road. Usually either they enter the deeper restricted areas, or they are overly greedy and try to face all the wolves at once. Of course, this doesn't apply to him as he woke up a far better ranked ability. He thus makes direct for the so-called prohibited territory. Not long after, he comes upon a couple white wolves in the furthest recess of the forest. Alternatively, it can be one of the gray wolves. Hard to say. Still, they are level 1, hence it must be difficult. One of them leaps toward him, activating its bite ability, but Lin Yi only grins. The lad is surrounded with great atmosphere. He points his staff toward the beast and sets off healing. 10 experience points are earned when a pillar of flaming fire erupts under the enemy and evaporates it with one hit. 2 more wolves attack using their bite technique to target his shoulder. But Lin Yi turns around the biting harm and heals himself instead. He does seem to be able to reverse all that comes, of course, for him. His lad is undermatched. He turns on clairvoyance, catching the wolves as their mana runs off. Extraction of even a small mana immobilizes creatures with such low energy. Another wolf charges, but he needs to dodge since this one lacks his expertise. He employs another healing ability as soon as he hides, therefore the monster falls. He intends to eradicate all the local species and exit the dungeon at level 4. Another wolf strikes from behind, but he activates healing once again. He muses on his preparation time for this day in the meanwhile. He deactivates the reversal and retrieves his mana via clairvoyance following the battle. Level 2 now, with several points to spare, he puts everything in intelligence. He need nothing else as long as he can heal and regenerate mana. The scene moves to the director, who appears to have observed Lin Yi approaching the restricted zone. He is aware that it features a level 5 Wolf King descended, a quite hazardous supervisor. He doesn't know whether the lad has some latent ability guaranteeing success or is trying suicide. Sadly, Lin Yi concealed his ability, so the director's only attention is on seeing other students. Another man notes her potential as he observes Mumu's group on the monitor. Mumu is fighting mystical creatures with 2 other Megwesters. She lacks some of firepower, the man notes. Reasonable given her whirling wizardry approach. Her spells lack the piercing force of a spear would have for the creatures. But 2 more rush toward her as soon as one foe drops. She calls her friends to withdraw right away. She calls forth a spiritual clone whirling across the wolves when her magic cooldown finishes. Weary, she sits as the director notes her bright future. The scene opens with a rabbit running away under wolf pursuit. Having lately defeated another beast, Lin Yi leveled up to level 3. He wouldn't take long to get level 4, and the advancement was as quick as he anticipated. He knows he has heard something behind him. Pulling back some shrubs, he at last finds the boss the level 5 Wolf King descended. In the beginning area, this very deadly beast is almost forbidden. Many novices have perished there, powerless against its might. This location is hence said to be banned. Worse still, the boss is constantly surrounded by other wolves. Lin Yi is aware, nevertheless, that it occasionally wanders apart, much as any animal does. He will strike at that point, removing one at a time. Until just the 2 of them remain, every wolf close to the boss needs to be killed. Not too long later, Lin Yi reaches level 4, and the forest is covered in wolf dead. The boss spots him at that same instant. Turning to face the lad, Lin Yi probes whether he senses anything is off. When he sees the boss up close, he is startled since his 2,000 horsepower is at least 50 times stronger than that of the previous wolves. Still, he has a fix for this. Lin Yi's ability meets the wolf's first attack. Hence, naturally, he reverses it. He even stays, thanks the wolf for the cure. The creature strikes once again with a dexterity that Lin Yi notes is ideal for mindless monsters like these. The wolf becomes weary as Lin Yi's cooldown finishes. Healing on the boss, he deals a 500 damage, almost 1/4 of its health. The wolf makes a simple, maybe devastating cutting strike, but Lin Yi dodges right in time. Though Lin Yi believes it's already too late, the monster seems to realize something is awry. Using his strengthened ability, the wolf charges Lin Yi. He observes that it would have been challenging to confront the boss alongside other species, but given just the 2 of them, he cannot lose. The boss falls as another healing spell washes over the woodland. With 1,000 experience points, Lin Yi moves up to level 5. He gets a low-tier bronze chest as well. Given he just defeated his covert supervisor, shouldn't the prize be more? Right after he muses over this, the chest improves. The system says he got an SS rank since he lacked damage-dealing techniques. The mechanism rewards him an advanced chest. Lin Yi knows this since he used healing spells for attack. Everyone is shocked and told outside of the dungeon of his accomplishment. In their class, what kind of talent could develop to earn an SS rank? Not even the long-standing academy instructor with decades of expertise had seen anything like this. The glasses-wearing man understands that you must take absolutely no harm if you want an SSF ranking. Who might therefore possibly execute that? Mumu, who gave it her best and possesses amazing potential, likewise barely scored. She is not sure how hard someone else battled to reach that level. Already on his way, Lin Yi remarks he was luckier than he had expected. Now, though, it is time for the last prize, and he orders the chest to open. Inside, he discovers Divine Healing, a skill particular to his class, 5 attribute points, and a shadow dagger. The dagger raises his attack by 50 points and has a 5% chance of bleeding. Divine Healing brings everyone within a 10-meter radius 100 horsepower back. He picks it up right away and employs reversal. Right now, ability does 100 damage plus 20 horsepower every second. It's ideal for handling several animals in an area even if its mana cost and cooldown are large. This arrangement allows him to level out faster by positioning himself in the heart of monster hordes, therefore increasing his chances. Combining that with his mana recovery power, at this level there is most likely no mage stronger than him. Of course, his increased attribute points will also benefit him. Only high-grade achievers can decide where to distribute their points. He puts all 5 into intelligence as usual. He wants to rank first among damage dealers worldwide. From outside the dungeon, someone notes someone else leaving. That squad has to be the top-ranking one. Only Lin Yi, though, seems to show up. People expect the SS rank squad to be still inside finishing something and will leave shortly. Mumu asks whether it was he who did it. She should quit exaggerating about this loser. The guys around advise her. He was alone after all, hence it is not feasible. Having a high-quality weapon, Lin Yi dismisses them and probes whether anyone among them developed an assassin's skills. People start bidding suddenly, offering from 10,000 to 20,000 coins. One even raises it to 50,000. Lin Yi finds this interesting. He says he would sell it should someone offer more. Announcing she would pay 100,000 alliance coins, a girl raises her hand. The audience is in shock. For 10 years, that is plenty to eat comfortably. Lin Yi believes the girl is lucky since the dagger is really worth that much. He pulls it out and calls the sale closed. Curious about the boy's level, some approach. The elders watch from above. One of them notes that Lin Yi arrived alone, and another remarks that, should that be the case, he must have joined an inside team. After all, an SS rank cannot be attained by one person. The rating calls for no damage, which is unimaginable for a single player. People's passion regarding Lin Yi's dagger sale causes his haters to be fuming. A man in a blue cap says Lin Yi had to have cheated to get such a goodie. A priest cannot achieve such kind of accomplishment. The headmaster later says all tests have finished. They are hunters in training with remarkable ability today, not pupils. While some will go on and resume normal life, others will grow heroes defending mankind. They will get a fresh assessment in 30 days. Hence by then they should strive to reach at least level 10. The ultimate professional test falls at the end of that term. Thus Lin Yi understands that it has to be finished as a team. Coordination will be most crucial, and fortunately, he already has a committed partner. He is aware that Mumu requires much care. She is quite devoted, hence people sometimes use her goodwill to fool her. She awakened a great talent, but he has to guard her from anything that might come, of course. Ultimately, it's the commitment he gave her aunt. He refuses to let another tragedy like that to strike. He claims they're going hunting first, so they won't eat dinner tonight, and puts his palm on her face. The next scene opens them already in the level 3 to 6 area of the stone cave. What a marvel. Among those heroes, Lin Yi is not one that overlooks anyone. Rather, he invited her to level off alongside him. Of course, they are playing on hard difficulty since it produces superior goods. He wanted to play on nightmare difficulty, sadly, but a dungeon this challenging doesn't offer that choice. Mumu wonders whether he is striving for another SS rank and if they are truly running such a significant risk. He urges her to believe him just here. She says they won't cause enough damage collectively, hence it's not a problem of trust. Saying he knows a way to cut over this labyrinth, he calms her. Startled, she probes whether he intends to skip all in order to straightforward to the boss. The design of the dungeon, he says, is set with monsters trapped in certain places. Having examined it, he thinks the two of them could pull off. Mumu is eager and relies on Lin Yi's deductive ability. She does, after all, recall the several times she went to his room to discover him planning tactics and researching dungeons. Though, for some odd reason, he consistently narrowly passed theoretical tests. Many think he was terminally dumb, but she's confident he's been hiding something. She promptly snaps back, insisting she's ready to go when Lin Yi advises her to quit fantasizing. The next scene depicts their entering the cave. While Lin Yi reminds Mumu to exercise caution since wild dungeons are significantly more deadly, Mumu is thrilled and remarks on how beautiful the area is. The system alerts them suddenly that their party lacks members, therefore pairing them with another squad. Though evidently this was unavoidable, Lin Yi had hoped to do it alone. The issue is increased competitiveness, since additional team does not mean help. Suddenly behind them is an explosion. Coughing up water mixed with blood, a man is flung into a pillar, mutters he didn't believe the monsters would overrun them like this. Far worse than he had ever dreamed was a hard-level wild dungeon. When Lin Yi and Mumu approach and the group recognizes them citing Academy policies, they ask for help. But Lin Yi is merciless, advised to fend for themselves. The gang calls him a pest and curses him. He just snatches Mumu's hand and departs. She should keep in mind, he counsels, that these scorpions are afraid of water. Mumu and he both have long-range strikes. Hence, they only have to avoid poisoning each other. She notes this, and he adds, they are sound sensitive. One shows up in front of them and they react. Lin Yi starts a raid approach, and the creature's health drops. When Mumu questions whether this is the talent that brought him an SS rank, He just orders her to be silent. He starts remembering the way to avoid monsters, then leads her to a lake. He starts right away, then she follows with a moment's delay. She got drenched, of course, and T hears the required view of her drying off. Picking up a stone, Lin Yi hits the ground and seems to rise something from the ground. From the ceiling, an odd red eye starts to fix on him. One of the scorpions battling another team veers off course at the same time. They all follow the water tornado Lin Yi produced. Not even the boss seems. A level 6 deadly scorpion king. Knowing the beast is terrified of water, Lin Yi tights it to approach. The boss says his turn is now when he pauses. His new area damage spell starts right away, killing over 100 scorpions. Left perplexed on how a priest could have such a strong area attack is the other squad in the dungeon. After killing almost 50 scorpions personally with her powers, Mumu is astounded at the amount of experience she is acquiring, immediately reaching level 4. Lin Yi declares it time to deal with the king. The monsters seem to be mustering the bravery to swim. Mumu just deals 10 damage even though she hits it with an ice spell. Given their strong resistance, she questions Lin Yi about how they are meant to destroy it. The secret is to strike her abdomen, he assures her. The monster strikes the island they are on, sending them upward. Lin Yi releases a healing strike as they flee, therefore generating a fresh platform. Although each of his strikes causes 150 damage, the boss has significantly more health than expected. Lin Yi signals Mumu it's time when the boss is about to strike. He moves to make the boss raise his arm, therefore revealing his abdomen. He strikes precisely to inflict 1,000 damage. Mumu finds it rather impressive how much more powerful abdominal hitting is. They fast reach an SS rank by repeating this approach a couple more times. Lin Yi climbs to a 6. The other squad yells out to him as they head off. They want to be friends and join his group, but he only advises them to keep all they observe today to themselves. Anyone who speaks will suffer penalties. Not too long afterward, they are in the golden room. Declaring it time to open the chest, Lin Yi stands before it. Inside, they discover a growth talent called Poisonous Bubble, a silver rank hunter's sword, wind boots that boost movement speed by 30%, a little emerald ring that lowers all skill cooldowns by 10%. Like it sounds, the Poisonous Bubble skill lets him call a venomous bubble. Impressed, Mumu says this precious treasure is above her expectations. Clearly, the cooldown decreasing ring is the best equipment for Lin Yi. Mumu says she cannot learn this skill book since her knowledge is in ice magic. Not poison, but she likes it. But the book turns on all of a sudden, and her talent score rises from 2 to 5. Given her great ranking, Lin Yi notes that this could be her latent class ability. Eager, Mumu says she can now assist him even more. Laughing, Lin Yi says it's time they head off. Outside, they come across plenty of people seeking groups. The throng starts flirting over Mumu as they see her. Whispering about Lin Yi, the boys marvel how someone with such a poor class could get an SS rank. Suddenly, a yellow Lamborghini pulls up in front of the dungeon. Where did that originate from? Stepping out of the car, the man tells his companion he at last sees the girl he was referring to and agrees she is as beautiful as described. Mumu takes Lin Yi's arm right away and says they had to go. This guy hires experts and rules most dungeons using the riches of her family, she says. His pastime is also following girls from underprivileged homes. Still, the man asks her to wait and move swiftly. Identifying himself as Huang Xiaofeng, he adds getting to know her would be fantastic. Some individuals criticize him in the background, while others protect him, claiming there is no evidence against him. Xiaofeng, however, relishes the focus. Being the center of it is what counts most to him. Mumu abruptly hides behind Lin Yi, saying she has a lover and she can't. Xiaofeng finds it unbelievable that a man in shabby clothing is rejecting him. Assuming she knows this individual, Lin Yi probes Mumu about whether he is acting as his shield. Xiaofeng reaches for Lin Yi's arm, but is smacked away. Furious, Xiaofeng yells, insisting on knowing how Lin Yi dares to do such a thing. Declaring Lin Yi will learn his lesson, Xiaofeng lunges, activating a charged skill. But Lin Yi gently sets reversal on motion. Xiaofeng finally strikes himself, falls to the ground. The wretched man begs to know what evil tactic Lin Yi employed, groans in agony. Lin Yi coolly asks Xiaofeng whether he has gone crazy. Everybody observed his lack of activity. Besides, he is merely a priest. The throng, including Mumu, murmurs that priests lack attacking ability. Charging once more, Xiaofeng yells for Lin Yi to enter heaven. Half a second later, he is confusedly back on the ground. Lin Yi notes that Xiaofeng's capacity not only reverses damage but also sets off a knockback reaction. Xiaofeng promises to notify his father and make Lin Yi bow to apologies as everyone sees him embarrassed. A man in spectacles questions who this child is that overcame Xiaofeng so readily. Approaching Lin Yi, he apologizes on Xiaofeng's behalf. Xiaofeng finds it difficult to yell at Zhao Kang, wanting to know why he isn't pounding Lin Yi. Ignoring him, Kang calls for a golden power in his hand, and Xiaofeng passes out. When Lin Yi wakes up, Kang cautions him to be careful since Xiaofeng may send someone after him for retribution. As an apology, he gives Lin Yi a card containing 50,000 alliance coins, urging him to temporarily ignore Xiaofeng. Saying he can't promise that, Lin Yi smiles and adds he's genuinely looking forward the turmoil Xiaofeng could generate. He still has to verify the combat power of his reversal, after all. Along with the list of the stuff you can acquire, the forums already featured discussion about a plan to empty the stone cave in under 1 minute and 30 seconds. As it happens, Lin Yi is personally implementing the plan. Mumu believes it's a bad idea to let people know it so freely. Lin Yi responds that the ground is quite unstable, and that even if people would purchase the plan, they would find it difficult to implement exactly. Everyone is keen to buy the cave since acquiring attribute points is quite important. Starting raking in alliance coins Lin Yi, but it seems his scheme failed when someone cleared the cave and received an SS rank. More and more people started succeeding as a result, and Lin Yi's income shot skyward. His account balance soon shot above 500,000 coins. Long-haired man looks at a message on his screen, seeking information about this person. His group responds that it looks to be simply a Jang Academy student. The man becomes fascinated and wants to discover what noteworthy activities are taking on there. Apparently, Lin Yi was the first to reach an SS rating, hence he exclusively acquired those unique objects from the cave. He sold this blade for 80,000 coins by managing this way. The amount of money Mumu had made in such a small period astounds him. Lin Yi agrees, but advises they must clear stronger dungeons fast, since silver rank things will soon lose worth. Still, he says, someone without fighting skills is nothing unique even with the best tools. Mumu wonders why he's devoting so much time creating money and developing plans, instead of emphasizing leveling up. He says the money is to guard the ones he loves. He spent 18 hours every day in his former life at internet cafes. Coming to this new planet provided him happiness after he lost his parents. But his relatives started to hate him since his parents perished in the monster wave, saying it would have been better if he had passed away too. None wanted to look after him. His relatives called him useless and discussed deserting him to an orphanage. Mumu's family adopted him exactly as he was getting ready for that life. Without asking a thing for themselves, they even helped him get his parents' fortune. His ex-relatives were put before courts and condemned. He is so driven to get a lot of money to pay back Mumu's family for their hospitality and to get stronger to guard people he loves. Right now, someone yells out to him. Beiji, a girl with ribbons in her hair, walks up to Lin Yi wondering whether he still sells the hunter's blade. Lin Yi wonders why she looks so different from her profile image. Turns out it was the muscular guy offering 80,000 coins. She says it was her in the discussion. She cannot produce proof since the battery on her phone is dead. Skeptical Lin Yi questions how a small child like her could be wielding such a big sword. He says he would show her the sword, but once she purchases it, there is no refund. Midair Beiji catches the sword and begins deftly squinting it. Lin Yi understands she needs to have focused all of her points towards strength. Given it usually costs 200,000, she questions whether he is indeed selling it for 80,000. He wonders whether she actually lacks awareness of the market worth. She confesses she doesn't really understand money and is horrible with figures. Lin Yi orders her to finish the deal, sighs, hands her his phone. As he bids her goodbye, she thanks him and tells her to message him should she need anything. Beiji looks to be ready for an attack as he turns. The assault strikes straight on his skull, yet it's a gift rather than damage. Goddess's luck. It increases dungeon chest's quality 1 level for 24 hours. Startingable. Is that truly her skill, Lin Yi wonders? She acknowledges it is and says he could always have this impact if she were in his party. Lin Yi notes her talent can change and acknowledges that lucky people are quite rare, maybe less common than legendary skills. This would make a big impact for someone like him who already locks high-ranking chests. Does anyone else know about the impact of her gift, he wonders. She replies no. He cautions her for being irresponsible. She may easily be kidnapped given the limits of her gift, compelled to polish others before they enter dungeons. Since chess quality is so important, most guilds would kill to possess such a strong influence. Then he says she will be joining his team, so he might keep her safe. Overjoyed to find such a fantastic group, Lin Yi privately notes he's basically kidnapping her in reverse. She will remain at his side and use her gift for him, as he is sure that everyone wants to kidnap her. Calling Mumu attractive and praising her delicate hands, Beij introduces herself. Though Mumu thinks Beij is beautiful, she seems strange. She says nothing but wonders whether Lin Yi has hidden motivations. Lin Yi dismisses it, orders them to eat quickly since they have a dungeon to visit. The girls initially ask which dungeon they would want to explore together. He tells it will be the Goblin Cave on Nightmare difficulty. He stresses the first-time high-rank benefits and the need of obtaining free attribute points. The girls doubt his seriousness about such a demanding level. Nightmare difficulty has the strongest incentives for beginners, but has significantly stronger animals than hard mode. Mumu gets in his face, calling it impossible and charging him of unnecessary risking their lives. Lin Yi comforts her, but she also cautions that even seasoned experts occasionally find themselves in that dungeon having accidents. Beij slips away, saying she has work to do while they dispute. Massaging Mumu's shoulder, Lin Yi tells her to relax and head home. Later on, he will persuade her. Mumu says she won't be convinced so readily, and Lin Yi agrees to pay attention to her worries. Mumu, however, knows him too well, since she understood his agreement came too fast. He probably wants to travel alone. Images of Lin Yi start to show up online, labeling him as the best rookie of year. Skeptics reject the allegation, pointing out his shadow and implying he is simply any average priest. Although many question he's clearing dungeons alone, the public knows he's from Jang Academy. Mumu notices the conversation among the posts as she scrolls through them until Lin Yi grabs her phone and tells her it's time to eat. The scenario then moves to Mumu's house, where her mother, sporting an eccentric bandana, compliments both of them on their diligence. Knowing how much work they had been doing, she exhorts them to eat. When Mumu's dad probes Lin Yi about how things are going, he says right now everything is good. Her dad notes Lin Yi's tenacity. He has always been competitive and never backs down once he decides. Mumu advises dad not to say things like that since Lin Yi finds uncomfortable. While her dad says he doesn't want to meddle with Lin Yi's choices, he wishes he could lead a more steady life like Mumu. Frustrated, Mumu wonders why everyone seated at the table seemed to be devaluating her. Amused, Lin Yi tells her he will only act within his capacity. Handing him a card, Lin Yi's father-in-law reminds him that his house would always be there for him. Thank you. Lin Yi first says he already earns plenty and declines. Mumu's mother argues, however, that it's preferable to agree since he will have to pay far more than he expects when the actual tests start. Lin Yi grabs the card, thanking them while considering how much his success has been dependent on their support not wanting to offend them. Knowing it wasn't simple to get, he muses over his fortune in having this life. He is resolved to conquer the dungeon at dream level since he must grow stronger in order to guard all. The scene moves to Xiao Feng's house, where he is screaming at Kai Hong, asking to know how he dared to turn on him. Kai Hong coolly says he truly saved him without the money he paid. Not at home, Xiao Feng would have woke up in a hospital. If he had better tools, Xiao Feng says he would have prevailed. Kai Hong brushes him off, advising him to relax. Furious, Xiao Feng tosses a glass from his bedside, assigning Kai Hang guilt. Kai Hang responds, wondering if Xiao Feng truly believes he is unique only because he is the young successor of Master Huang. Declaring he should never have taken care of someone like Xiao Feng, he advises the child deserves a beating so terrible even his mother would not be able to identify him. Kai Hang then, taunting him with a cold grin, says he forgot. Xiao Feng had never had a mother. Xiao Feng sits angrily, berating Kai Hang as he leaves. But Kai Hang is much more fascinated by the lad who beats Xiao Feng without displaying any clear skill set. He starts to believe the tales of Lin Yi clearing dungeons alone. In addition, he has heard about another upcoming star selling rare goods and dungeon tactics. It baffles him why two geniuses would have apparently shown up concurrently at Jang Academy. Xiao Feng calls meantime, seeking assistance to look after a specific person. He tells them to just teach the haughty youngster a lesson. They should not concern consequences. The scenario opens at the first layer of the Goblin Dungeon, where Lin Yi recently arrived. Few people dare to visit this location as he understands it is so hazardous even with its amazing benefits. Still, he's sure it's worth it, given his luck seems active. He minimum expects to get a platinum chest and 15 attribute points, a prize too great to turn down. Rising 15 meters, two massive goblins show up. Lin Yi finds their scale amazing, pointing out how much smaller goblins in his day used to be, Level 5 goblins scowl at him as he excitedly mumbles about the approaching genuine fun. 5 seconds of arrival, a swarm of beasts charges the door. Starting to run, Lin Yi remembers the 2 goals for an SS rank. Clear the dungeon in under 10 minutes. While another goblin attacks, defeat the boss. Every creature in the forest notices him as he runs across it. 2 minutes later, he is under army of goblins' pursuit. Stopping, turning around, Lin Yi triggers reversal. Combined with divine healing, his area attack now upgraded to level 2 removes the first and second layers of goblins. In no time, he arrives at the entrance of the 5th stratum. He comes into the goblin's palace, where the level 8 king awaits. The monarch wants to know someone daring trespassing on his domain. Seeing the manager so near the door surprises Lin Yi. The goblin leaps forward and lifts its staff before he can respond, orders him to death. Although Lin Yi understands evading would be the usual action, everything changes when one uses reversal. 500 of Lin Yi's health is restored by the goblin. Using a healing attack, Lin Yi replies with 200 damage to the boss. The Goblin King, snarling, gets ready with a green energy attack a dragon lance that targets Lin Yi's chest. Lin Yi heals 200 horsepower each second, rather than losing 200 horsepower per second. Confused, the boss queries why his skills fail against this individual. Startled, Lin Yi sees the monster is intelligent enough to grasp what is happening. Entering Berserker's mode, the Goblin King calls forth a swarm of goblins around him. At last, Lin Yi knows why this dungeon is regarded as a dream, but he keeps his trump card back for now. Abdicating their talents, the boss instructs the goblins to assault just with physical strikes. It asks Lin Yi how he would endure hundreds of strikes like these. The army of goblins charges him. Although Lin Yi buffs himself with reversal and dodges multiple blows, archers strike him twice in the rear. Calm under knowledge he can mend himself. Touching his chest, he heals all damage, so perplexing the supervisor. Not sure what it is, the Goblin King notes Lin Yi's unusual dark aura. Another healing laser Lin Yi releases slices through the goblin's legs and strikes the boss at the rear. The Goblin's King keeps attacking non-stop, but Lin Yi cleverly avoids and uses his healing powers to retaliate. Growing more annoyed, the boss curses him and demands he fight like a real warrior rather than flee. Seeing that every goblin has been called upon, Lin Yi determines it is time to call off this. As energy permeates the room, he slams his staff against the floor, creating a brilliant magic circle. Perched on his weapon, he says, "This will be the last." Together with a thunderstorm slamming against the castle, a great laser falls from the heavens. Declaring that Lin Yi has destroyed the Goblin Legion, the system gives him 1,000 experience points. The manager is depressed and reluctant to fight since her HP falls less than 1%. Lin Yi secretly casts another reversal as the Goblin King muses on its loss. After the last blow strikes, the Goblin King is vanquished, and Lin Yi 5,000 experience points are awarded to him, therefore moving him to level 7. Lin Yi gets the sought-after SS of rank by finishing all secret prerequisites. Beiji's luck is buff, hence his chest turns platinum. Not sure, he opens it excitedly the prizes. Skill Manual Holy Luminary, a strike meant for healing that damages undead entities. He questions if reversing it would heal people or undead. Molotov from the Realm of Dungeons, deals 300 damage upon hit. Stone Blink grants extra qualities and lets you teleport 10 meters. Skill Manual, the Glory of Star 1 area buff that lessens damage done and heals everyone around. Reversed, it could intensify assaults and enhance damage done. Golden Vow, high-ranking weapon with outstanding performance. Overwhelmed by the sheer volume of objects, Lin Yi becomes giddy. Knowing his improved area ability and teleportation will make him even deadlier, so he picks the new talents and assigns the attribute points right away. He notes how different he feels from when he entered as he leaves the dungeon. Mumu strikes suddenly, surprising him. Saying she knows exactly what he's been up to, she instructs him to drop the act even though he tries to act casual. She approaches him asking whether he actually finished the dungeon on nightmare difficulty. She says she has no justification for complaining anymore when he confirms, but she still expresses her personal want to test it out. An automobile moves in the distance as they get toward the teleport spot. Arriving ready to atone, Xiaofeng orders one of his hired thugs to handle Lin Yi by touching a shoulder, but the man appears afraid, shaking as he turns away from combat. Furious, Xiaofeng grips him at the collar and demands to know what's wrong. The thug stammers, not wanting to meet someone like Lin Yi. Frustrated, Xiaofeng convinces himself he came well prepared even if he cannot rely on worthless waste like this. The scene moves to Lin Yi working on his computer. noting the possible benefits and uploading plans for finishing the goblin's dungeon. His reputation develops on the forums as people wonder how a priest could clear dungeon of dream-level intensity. Some even forward pictures of him and Mumu to pique interest in his techniques. As the internet hums, Lin Yi contentedly tallies the alliance coins flooding in. One offers another 150,000 for the golden bow and 100,000 for holy light. He feels it's less than he expected, even though he earns 500,000 coins, as most people are too scared to try nightmare difficulty. Concerned about Beiji's luck buff only lasting 15 more hours, he determines he has little time to waste. Driven, he leaves for a little run to increase his physical stamina. A nice automobile passes by him jogging. Once more, it is Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng sneers, pulling up next to Lin Yi, wondering if Zhao Kang hasn't warned him enough about bringing the incorrect individuals under influence. Calmly responding, Lin Yi asks whether Xiaofeng's manager has made it obvious when he starts fighting with him. Xiaofeng curses Zhao Kang, determined to make everyone around him miserable, even Lin Yi. Though annoyed, Lin Yi smiles and says, "If you want to play that game, don't come crying later." Telling his hired men to stay out of it unless absolutely necessary, Xiaofeng orders a duel. But Lin Yi hears their subdued chat and realizes they want to meddle should the combat go against Xiaofeng. Grinning, Lin Yi boards Xiaofeng's sedan and orders him to drive to their selected duel site. Xiaofeng compliments Lin Yi for being compliant, but he cautions him that he will regret this choice. He promises to send Lin Yi like a battered puppy crawling home. But Lin Yi promises to live worse than death. The automobile rushes throughout the mountainous jungle till it comes upon a gathering at a clearing. Seeing the throng, Lin Yi asks Xiaofeng whether he broke his vow of a one-on-one combat. Xiaofeng smiles, stating the combat will definitely be one-on-one, Lin Yi against everyone in his squad. Not bothered, Lin Yi says it doesn't matter to him. Xiaofeng, annoyed, gives his men orders to strike. Lin Yi turns away their first punches and runs to a safer distance. Seeing no way to avoid one of the armored men's light-based strike, Lin Yi orders reversal. The attack strikes squarely, and the assailant celebrates, presuming Lin Yi dead. But Lin Yi's staff's luminosity ought to have been a glaring signal. There seemed to be something off. Moments thereafter, the group collapses to their knees and starts throwing wildly. Having seen nothing strange, the assailants are perplexed. They are left disabled even with top-notch golden equipment. One tells his friends to exercise caution, but the armored guy assures them he will handle Lin Yi's trickery. The group charges, turning on several talents concurrently. Easily countering, Lin Yi activates reversal and slams his staff against the floor. Kegs materialize, and most of the group falls right away as they pierce their bodies. Xiaofeng wonders how his whole gang was wiped off so readily as the few survivors start throwing again. Not bothered, Xiaofeng moves on in a diamond-ranked armor that increases all qualities by 100, worth tens of millions. He says this object guarantees wealthy success, recognizing it as among the rarest objects from top auction houses. Even the onlookers whisper in wonder. Xiaofeng laughs, instructing Lin Yi to accept loss and kneel. Xiaofeng believes Lin Yi is paralyzed by dread when he doesn't react. Approaching Lin Yi, he taunts her, stating it's too late to ask for pardon. Calmly pointing his staff at him, Lin Yi says the brilliance of Xiaofeng's armor cannot cover his heart's frailty. Xiaofeng runs no chance of winning, he tells him. Xiaofeng laughs and says they will see once the battle starts. Declaring Lin Yi's death certain, he lunges and activates a wind-based sword technique. Lin Yi leaps once to deftly avoid. Taken aback, Xiaofeng wonders how someone could have both the speed to evade so readily and the ability to destroy an entire bunch. He finds greater perplexity in Lin Yi's energy not feeling human. It has the same vitality as dungeon creatures employ. Xiaofeng mocks Lin Yi for being delicate and easily killed with one hit, accusing him of devoting all his points toward agility. Laughing, Lin Yi says it's unfortunate Xiaofeng won't land even one hit. Lin Yi fires a healing laser at Xiaofeng, activating reversal, causing nearly 1,000 damage. Xiaofeng's armor loses apparent damage, therefore lowering its attribute benefits. Furious, Xiaofeng starts a flurry of slashes, but Lin Yi dodges everyone easily. Xiaofeng's team sees in shock from the sidelines. Xiaofeng, desperate, screams for their assistance, but they hesitate, scared by their leader's debuff depleting 500 horsepower every second. Grinning, Lin Yi casts Xiaofeng a healing spell restoring 1,300 horsepower. He parodies Xiaofeng, claiming that a rudimentary ability will be sufficient to outshine him. Lin Yi sits down and makes Xiaofeng a bargain. He'll forget everything once surrender the diamond armor. Xiaofeng shouts he would sooner die than give it up. Lin Yi observes his cooldown is almost finished, laments him, casts another heal, furious. Xiaofeng says he will employ his last action, Pegasus Meteor Explosion. Xiaofeng beams, thinking he's at last triumphed, and the battlefield comes alive. But reversal turns on, and Xiaofeng's fingers break under feedback. Lin Yi heals himself and Xiaofeng once more by emerging unhurt through the smoke. Realizing what is happening, Xiaofeng brands Lin Yi a monster and charges him of being nasty and evil. Lin Yi answers bitterly, stating that he hates most being threatened. Declaring the punishment will be long and comprehensive, Lin Yi uses a bombardment of destructive tactics shockful to the onlookers. A huge brilliant cross falls on Xiaofeng. Lin Yi heals Xiaofeng once again, reversing the effect to cause extra damage as he falls. Recognizing this is agony rather than a combat, the audience murmurs. One last laser assault from Lin Yi leaves Xiaofeng sprawled useless on the ground. When someone behind Xiaofeng's goon turns out to be recording, the confrontation veers unexpectedly. It's a live stream including more than 1,000 people, not simply a video. The figure keeps rising and shortly exceeds 5,000. While viewers are startled by Lin Yi's merciless efficiency, they mostly blame Xiaofeng for his haughty comments. Many start to put the stories about a Jang Academy priest who has been solo clearing dungeons together. Others remember learning about someone from Jiang offering unique objects and dungeon techniques. Insisting he's not the one implementing the tactics, BEIGA seeks to protect Lin Yi. Still, based on everyone's responses, she understands the reality. One cannot hide Lin Yi's strength anymore. People marveling at Lin Yi's ability to heal, defend, and attack all at once rapidly gather to create her fan club. Xiaofeng's reputation is virtually destroyed in meantime. His name is connected to the company of his father, whose stock falls from bad publicity. Her mother says Xiaofeng deserves to pay for his conduct, while her father counsels Mumu to keep out of it. Both of them agree that Lin Yi looks to be managing things perfectly, so there is no need for intervention. The live stream becomes global viral. Astonished, a man with white hair notes that Lin Yi hasn't yet taken the professional hunter test. Given Lin Yi's performance, he thinks his talent is at least above legendary level. But he regrets Lin Yi's career path as, born once in a century, a genius like him should have selected a more esteemed class. Others question Lin Yi's ability while some ridicule Xiaofeng's humiliation. High-ranking executive Xiaofeng's father watches the catastrophe play out silently. Although he acknowledges he's handling a lot at the company, he assures his colleagues he already dispatched someone to take care of things. Xiaofeng is still being beaten and healed regularly back at the scene. Arriving in a helicopter, Zhao Kang comes down and asks Lin Yi to be merciless. President Huan, Xiaofeng's father, wants to talk with Lin Yi, Kang says. Laughing, Xiaofeng says his father's action marks Lin Yi's doom. Lin Yi coolly says that President Huan will have to come in person if he wants to chat. Giving Lin Yi a phone, Kang says the president will personally pay him for his son's misbehavior. Moments later, a hologram of President Huan shows up explaining himself and regretting not raising his kid correctly. While President Huan insists isn't enough, Lin Yi accepts the apologies. As a sign of authenticity, he provides Lin Yi whatever item she would choose. Moreover, Xiaofeng will be given to Kang right away for discipline upon return. Seizing the chance, Lin Yi asks 5 million alliance coins along with 3 pieces of diamond-ranked equipment for a priest, a mage, and a swordsman. Knowing that gathering such sets would be practically difficult within the nation, Kang is clearly startled by Lin Yi's strong demands. Even President Huan pauses, but tells Lin Yi he will employ teams to farm in designated special dungeons to meet the demand within a few days. President Huan laments once more having to clear his son's mess as Xiaofeng is being taken away. Realizing someone had planned the recording, Kang quickly turns off the live streaming camera. Knowing the spread of the stream, Lin Yi thinks the whole alliance has most certainly heard of his talents. As Lin Yi keeps haggling with President Huan, the discussion changes. Although the president grants Lin Yi access to whatever secret dungeon he wishes, he cautions that strong groups oppose such locations. Agreeing, Lin Yi assures the president it's enough time to clean all secret dungeons by requesting unrestricted access to them for a month. The guards, as well as Baiji, believe this chronology to be shockingly ambitious. Still, President Huan accepts and asks Lin Yi and his team to dinner the next evening to go over more plans. Lin Yi says the dinner should be live-streamed. Startled by the demand, President Huan nonetheless agrees. When the call ends, Lin Yi reminds Kang to keep every promise he makes by returning the phone. Lin Yi and his company arrive at a posh five-star restaurant, the most famous in the city, next evening. Mumu notes that such feasts can sometimes be traps and cautions Lin Yi to be careful even with the apology. Not to worry, Lin Yi tells her. Knowing quite well that Huan was simply acting so obligingly, Lin Yi understood Lin Yi's great potential. Huan invited the group inside the opulent dining hall, opening doors. Warmly greeting Baiji and Mumu, he urged them to place whatever they like orders. Once seated, he once more apologized for his son's actions and owned responsibility for inadequate raising of Xiafeng. Huan's courtesy and humility startled the females. Someone like Xiafeng couldn't have a parent like this, hence it was difficult to believe. But Lin Yi was dubious. He knew Huan's actions were driven by his son's reputation's protection. Lin Yi responded tactically, suggesting they could get past the matter if Xiafeng really felt guilty about his behavior. Huan agreed, and one of his guards showed up carrying the asked goods. The Demon Emperor priest set was the first set for a priest. Man, priests in this planet seem a bit evil, right? The best thing was that it raised the healing power of 50%. So, with reversal, we already know what happens. Lin Yi basically informed the man he was really happy with something like this. Huan also had some makeshift diamond rank tools for Baiji and Mumu already under order. This all amply illustrated Huan's family's wealth and influence. Mumu thanked him and remarked the objects were really amazing. All of this was airing on the live stream. After everyone ate and some time of conversation, Lin Yi remarked it was time to call things close. Huan advised him to be cautious as probably several media were waiting outside. Lin Yi, however, was more focused in exploring the Land of Bones dungeon. He seemed to have obtained access to the real deal, and that was what he had been yearning. Outside, every reporter was photographing. Their main uncertainty yet was whether he was the guy posting forum strategies. Xia Feng was apparently absorbing some sort of black energy on his hospital bed at the time. Suddenly waking up, he asked a high-ranking demon with great strength who the of the Abyss is. Saying he believed it would be something unique, Xie Feng was not particularly impressed. Mako found it incomprehensible why this man, who had lately been embarrassed by the priest, lacked impression. The manner the youngster responded perplexed him, but he still made his offer. He wanted Xiaofeng to be truly fine with everything. Every human had laughed at him. Even his father, who ought to have encouraged him, was kissing the boots of the man who embarrassed him. Saying he would have unmatched authority should Xiaofeng accept, he made a deal. Power sufficient to bring his father to see who really deserved respect and destroy anyone who denigrated him. Saying he didn't want anyone's pity, Xiaofeng tossed a pillow at his head and advised him to get lost. Among geniuses, he was a genius. Offers like that were meant for losers. The demon found this brat's deviation from the script confusing. Then he disappeared, assuring the lad that all he had to do should he change his mind was phone Mako. He knew eventually Xiaofeng would need the instantaneous power he could supply. The scene then changed to level 610's secret dungeon within the Land of Bones. Of course, it was Met Gear trouble once more. How many times might Beiji still use her skill this week, Lin Yi asked. She said she had only used it in the previous 2 dungeons, hence she could only use it one more. He appeared a little deflated and advised her to use more caution since there were more worthy goals to pursue. She wasn't meant to use it today, and although the dungeon was dreamlike, the best item inside would be platinum, which wasn't very good for them since they already possessed diamond. All they had to do was level up and enter the stronger dungeons the Huang family would let access. Getting access to catastrophic level dungeons turned out to be quite vital. Today's objectives were to reach an SS rating, acquire some merchandise for sale, and educate the group future game improvement techniques. Mumu claimed to have understood and informed him she would be closely observing whatever he did. The 3 of them went inside the portal. Killing the boss and Undead Knight came first on the agenda. Eliminating all the bones came second. Avoiding utilizing any holy type item for additional damage against the undead came third. They also had to guard a particular sword whose lifetime could not drop more than 60% of its original quality. Saying it was her first time in a dungeon of dream level, Beiji was reluctant. Mumu, who appeared to weigh 10 kilograms upon donning her adventure gear, told her not to worry though. Doing dream level dungeons was great mostly in terms of item collecting and selling everything. Lin Yi murmured to himself, wondering why he seemed to be working for free. Then he turned to face the 2 of us and urged us to pay attention. He bit his finger and let a drop to land on the ground. This drew every creature, hence they disregarded the defense of the barrier. Startled, Beiji coughed a lot of blood after the skeletons moved forward. Mumu tossed something, and Lin Yi caught a pain reliever tablet. He grabbed it as he started a run pursued by the skeletons. His vitality came in under 25%. This was the cutoff point for the undead to follow him just out of bloodlust and ignore their dread of the light blade. Fearful, Beiji questioned whether they would be able to assist him. Mumu answered that she had already discovered it was always wise to completely trust him. Cutting his arms, Lin Yi's health dropped to 10% and drew even more skeletons. Thinking he's at last arrived, he approaches a massive green barrier. He starts restoring his health with a sequence of healing spells as soon as he gets there. Startled, the skeletons turn to face him, but he says it's too late now. It is time for their payment of the cost. Rising his destructive powers, he starts a carnage. Then the ground opens in a spiral-shaped hole. Ascending it, they discover themselves before a large door. From the other side, a voice queries who has dared to wake me. Rising from the shadow, the zombie knight declares, "I'll use your skulls as drinking cups." The knight turns on the fire of rancor at that point, and Lin Yi uses reversal right away since he knows he cannot tank it. He already triggers an area strike and causes 500 damage before the monster could respond. He knows it won't be that tough as the giant monster started to get scared. Like those falling from the heavens, a reversal marks the knight as completed or thing already. The issue is that he obtains extra characteristics and triggers an undead rage ability. It made every undead nearby come alive and acquire 100 health every second. The leader runs towards Lin Yi, stating that he is a stupid human and now there is no way to escape as the empty dungeon suddenly begins to teeming with animals once more. He's smiling gently though, and the one scared is Beiji. He doesn't know whether he will actually escape this alive. Mumu in flames claims it's absurd though. Their 100 health per S-Econ makes no possibility of survival. The protagonist had area damage ability that exceeded that, and in a few seconds the large monster is already dead. The manager once more exhibits that terrified face. The lad only wonders though what his last words would be. It dissolved along with the whole dungeon before the creature could reply. He therefore finishes the Boneland dungeon and earns 6,000 experience points. He notes the SSS grade and the gold to platinum breast enhancements. The lad is there sporting a full status window filled with plus 20s and plus 30s. The two females were celebrating till the system declared they did not participate at all, so they would be regarded as AFK, essentially as a disconnection. Mumu seemed startled. At last, it seems that he gets a key to a catastrophe dungeon for killing the boss on the toughest challenge. Mumu surprises him. Lin Yi replies he already knew it. The trouble is that this key vanishes after used once, and he says most of the rarer dungeons follow this pattern. You only access it once. There is no way back off. Still, he claims he is confident anything original like this has some much greater items. Mumu claims she's sure, but it will still rely on how well the person finishes the dungeon. Having an SS rank, Lin Yi wonders what he would get at a setting like this. Suddenly, though, they grasp his arm and advise him to open that chest already, since they are curious what is within. He simply accepts. Thus, the chest opens and a lot of stuff clearly starts to flow out. Some qualities, a scepter, a gauntlet. Inquiring whether Mumu needs a new weapon, he presents her with a meteor staff. He also provides some intelligence points and notes that the staff fits her talent, a master of the 5 qualities. When they then inquire where they are headed, he says they will continue exploring the dungeon until everyone achieves level 10 to get ready for the professional test. After some time, he inquires as to whether the two of them could accomplish this goal of ongoing experience acquisition alone. Beiji agrees and notes they wouldn't have trouble given their knowledge. Suddenly, though, something seems to be approaching. He moves in front of Mumu and tells her to flee. Someone pauses in front of the two then. Having caught Beiji, a bald man had a little knife to her neck and asked whether any of them had obtained the stone key. 4 players in all above level 11. Mumu was at level 6. Lin Yi was at level 8. Should he fail to turn over the key, the bald man warns his comrade he will not escape alive. Suddenly, though, Beiji releases herself from his arm and cuts the bald man. From behind, though, a magician strikes her from behind after activating a flame spell. She at least makes timely defense for herself. Then, though, a healer walks up to the bald man and fixes him. Lin Yi advises better go if one does not wish to perish. Saying they would have to resolve it this way, the mage was already getting ready another attack on Beiji until he felt an energy approaching and almost got hit directly in the face. An inverted blast, correct, since it blasted the ground hole. From the backdrop, the bald man yells, demanding how the mage let himself become so sidetracked. One of them apparently got hit and is laying on the ground questioning how someone below level 10 could cause so much damage. Mumu had called her enchantress to ground the other one. Lin Yi believes they will have an opportunity to flee and is feeling giving. The mage laughs, then says Lin Yi will regret his haughtiness today. Launching an ice spell on his bald friend, he drives toward the group with ice and fire. Mumu cannot understand the man attacking them while endangering everyone's life. The main character orders the two ghouls back off. These folks smell like the magical wave, he says. They are thus the sort of humans that formed contracts with abyssal demons. They lost all rights to be deemed human at the same time they became far stronger than they ought to be. The man persists on advancing 3 fireballs toward Lin Yi. The entire area bursts, and the mage celebrates, declaring that this useless child will not prevail. He is sure the bald man with far more health and better gear will survive. He sees his friend fried while the lad is unhurt when the smoke clears, though. Shocked both of them, the mage orders the healer to save the bald man right away. The healer responds, nevertheless, that it is not possible since he passed away right away. The mage finds it incomprehensible how a level 10 priest killed a tanker right away. Lin Yi obviously had no regular job. The mage tries to run, realizing there is no chance. The protagonist argues, nevertheless, he cannot let someone working with demons flee. Starting another reversal healing, he sends an explosion on everyone's head. This time, the youngster was dissolved. Lin Yi stays serene. Someone killing mega-level bosses found this simple. Mumu then claims Lin Yi would have died if he hadn't behaved. She recalls a story on these men attacking various groups close to dungeons. The protagonist then compiles the riches. Sadly, some of the platinum and gold objects had locked qualities, but otherwise they were having looked over everything. He at last comes upon something intriguing. It was a pass to the dungeon with catastrophe level, the Forest of Giants. For them, at least, this onslaught produced. Once utilized for professional testing, this level 10 dungeon, for those hoping to graduate, the Black Curse Knight, the second boss, was the toughest obstacle. Several professional teams started coming together over time to finish it, but the objective was not experience or equipment. It was meant to be a flawless ending, allowing access to the Forgotten Nest, a dungeon. However, all of it is for later, as for now, finishing the forest comes first. Mumu is keen to find out when they are leaving, but Lin Yi advises they have to wait for Baishi's talent to heal. Apart from finishing the space, clearly access to the nest was the aim. Now the only issue was how to handle these guys' bodies. Mumu advises calling forth a monster to devour the dead, therefore rendering them vanished. The protagonist notes, though, that's ridiculous. He gathers them and says they will simply rot in the dungeon. Everyone is thereby thrown into the portal. Then he says it's time to relax while Baishi's ability heals. One day finds them in a restaurant. Mumu notes that they couldn't enjoy some serenity like this a long time ago. Not only peace, she also observes that money won't be an issue going forward. Lin Yi promises Mumu whenever they have free time, they will travel anywhere she requests. She becomes a little ashamed, though, and claims she is not a child to spend money simply on food and entertainment. She wants to save to purchase improved tools. Baishi tells her not to worry, and that she will pay for such expenses whenever necessary. Lin Yi advises them to quit, though, since their squad doesn't have money. At this point, a man with green hair walks up and claims someone else paid their bill already. Turning aside, Lin Yi spots a white-haired man waving at him. Approaching, he identifies himself as Shang Yuan, leader of the Ling Yuan sect and official from the professional association. The protagonist welcomes him and names his staff. The man responds, though, he already knows them, and is here inviting them to join the Ling Yuan cult. This would enable early membership of the professional alliance. The three find surprising as they would usually have to pass the test. Lin Yi says they aren't even qualified to sit the test yet. Furthermore, he does not want to present himself as a professional, as others might believe he exploited some advantage or influence. He declines the offer thus, and does not want to join the group either. Shang Yuan says he never anticipated the youngster to say no, but he also knows that strong people have different priorities. He sips and says it's unfortunate, but he wants to see Lin Yi in the alliance not too far off. He also advises Lin Yi to get in touch, as Shang Yuan values skill should he ever need anything. His sole ask is for a just duel with Lin Yi someday. The scenario opens in the dungeon, where they are already getting ready. BEIGA turns on her buff once more, and now for 24 hours. Lin Yi will get better quality treasure from chests. Lin Yi opens the portal and sets the key to the Forest of Giants active. calamity difficulty with 8 to 15 level range. Mumu notes that although the minimum level is 8, she understands that in calamity difficulty it is considerably more difficult. Some slain phantom knights show up before them at that very instant. The two females say for the first time not to worry since they will deal with it without his intervention. Mumu calls her enchantress clone, causing 800 damage to the head of the beast. She is amazed as BEIG is downing every monster. Lin Yi is totally embracing his healing role, restoring health and using buffs. He guides on where to hit, how to dodge, and what to do in between as well. The females keep avoiding with ease until they both launch an attack, therefore exploding the knight. They keep moving over the jungle till they come upon a place releasing a purple energy. Lin Yi grieves them to be careful, since this is where she would meet her first boss. Then the attitude of the level 13 White Knight shows. This boss suffered a big healing strike to the skull and had no chance to act. Startled, Mumu queries whether the monster is already dead. Lin Yi notes, however, not yet. The monster has lost a good portion of its HP bar. Lin Yi advises them to keep piling debuffs and hitting. The manager then charges them. Mumu's clone bursts in activation of poison bubbles. BEIG employs a fiery slash, which loads the boss with debuffs and causes second loss of health. As a Holy Knight, though, the boss heals herself, restoring 2,000 horsepower and earning a 40% defense increase. The girls wonder if these aficionados don't essentially make the boss almost perfect. Restoring their energy, Lin Yi notes that this makes it undead. He will, he adds now, handle it. Lin Yi steps back a few paces and calls the knight forward. He is aware that this is the ideal distance for the creature to employ its attack-ready approach. Indeed, the monster starts getting ready for its action. It throws a brilliant spear attack directly on Lin Yi. Of course, though, Lin Yi's strategy included this. Rising from the smoke in style, he turns around the attack and recovers health and a few additional attribute points. Lin Yi has already passed the monster and landed a strong blow before it can react. Lin Yi expects it would now try a close-range ability after the boss failed its ranged strike. Charging at Lin Yi with a spiritual energy buildup is the knight. Lin Yi, though, teleports straight onto the attack route. He employs a confinement technique in middle of the explosion. He blinks one more before he strikes. Behind the monster now, Lin Yi builds a trap, knowing the boss can only rely on physical attacks since it has depleted its best skills. Although Lin Yi cannot mirror the physical harm, it is so minimal that he can recuperate from it. The monster begins to withdraw, after realizing Lin Yi's health is continuously at maximum, therefore triggering a portal for escape. But Lin Yi celebrates, saying it's the ideal moment as his cooldown finishes. Landing straight on the beast, he employs the catastrophic strike and a great healing surge. The knight loses. Lin Yi levels up to 9. The girls are in wonder. If the previous manager was this tough, Lin Yi's assertion that it would be simple looks ridiculous. Thanks to Lin Yi letting them attack a bit, Mumu notes they received some benefits. Other than that, winning would have been practically impossible. Lin Yi wonders, though, why the rest of the road hasn't shown up. Suddenly, a plant grabs the three of them and throws them into a hole. Lin Yi urges the girls to roll on landing in midair to prevent fall injury. He triggers a barrier as he gets closer to the earth, therefore landing safely. But he gets a stomach strike before he can unwind. The ladies yell for Lin Yi. The second boss left without time to relax already. That is level 15 Black Curse Knight. Startled, Lin Yi notes the boss is not only tough, but also sly. He would have perished right away without his turnaround. Every attack the boss uses a weapon polished to deal magic damage. It also bears the Black Curse, which accentuates its qualities. Dodging isn't a choice. Hence, the knight attacks at BEIG and Lin Yi calls for her to block. She raises her blade and the effect sends her down to the ground coughing blood while the two girls lose 500 horsepower apiece. Lin Yi understands this isn't even the toughest attack the boss might launch. The gang has, at least, lots of health recovery drugs on hand. Lin Yi brings forth a brilliant healing ability. The manager refutes with a health fall capacity. Lin Yi continues, though, to inflict another catastrophic hit on the boss. He follows up with the boss's health starts to decline and with the energy steal art. Mumu observes, though, that the boss hasn't lost a third of its health even after employing 3 of his powers. Once more summoning her fiery clone, she charges the boss. She attacks non-stop, although her total damage is just 157. The protagonist keeps ducking and makes attempts for another strike. He targets the head, but the boss sidesteps and slashes upward to send him flying. Lin Yi heals from certain strikes and blocks others midair. The manager hits critically from a vulnerable location in his neck. The two brules gasp, but Lin Yi softly puts his palm on his neck and starts to heal. Lin Yi understood he had to pay close attention as the boss's authority was not joke. Lin Yi strikes the monster from behind when it starts moving toward the girls. Once more, the knight looks to confront him. Lin Yi encourages the females to follow the strategy as he runs past. The boss should concentrate just on him since he can heal and boasts better defense. The females assault from behind, progressively compromising the boss's health. Though this catastrophe-level monster has great protection and health, they merely require time. BEIG covers as the boss turns away. Lin Yi draws the boss back to him by activating yet another catastrophic ability. He cautions the monster not to overlook its opponent. The monster cannot assault his buddies as long as he is living. Time goes by, and Lin Yi applies still another brilliant healing method. The boss collapses with its sword buried in the ground. His health is 0. At last they beat the knight, accumulating 9,300 experience points. Lin Yi gets Black Curse Knight summoning power for finishing the fight flawlessly. With 1 day cooldown, he can call the knight for 1 hour. Saying she never even knew something like this existed, BEIG is astounded. Saying it's a team effort, Lin Yi strokes her on the head. As he muses on himself, he realizes that creatures that haven't been vanquished in a long time always grant extra buff. The system messages haven't yet stuck, Mumu notes. Of course, Lin Yi was expecting a reward allowing entrance to the nest's dungeon. Celebrating, he says this was the reason they came. He believes they will much exceed others given this chance. Mumu says they are benefiting everyone by defeating the boss designed for the professional test. Lin Yi points out, nevertheless, this could let some graduate without the necessary strength. Still, that doesn't worry him. Now is time to meet the last manager. The final being in this place, the end, gigantic. A monster the scale of Godzilla, with every movement touching the ground. At level 15, the system only characterizes it as an enigmatic and unknown entity. Though Lin Yi assures them to stay close to its left leg, BEIG is apprehensive. Although the creature is large, if they remain there, all it will try to do is stomp, which is easy to avoid. Although BEIG is eager to charge in, Lin Yi notes there is not yet need for that. They'll let the knight handle the filthy tasks first. He calls forth the leveling 15 Black Curse Knight using the summoning equipment. Confusing the gigantic, it charges toward the boss. Not sure why another boss is there. With a single hit, the knight slices off 1/3 of its health from its chest. Since the knight moves far quicker than the behemoth, he applies several debuffs while dodging strikes. Seeing the diversion, Lin Yi tells Mumu and BEIG to use all the available buffs power. Targeting the head of the beast, the two brutals drop its health down to 10%. Lin Yi waits deftly for the ideal opportunity to strike the last blow. He lets a great beam fly toward the skull of the giant when the health bar hits this level. Defaced. The boss awards 8,000 experience points. Wasn't that simply too simple? Lin Yi passes level 10. The females move to levels 8 and 7. Mumu congrats him, pointing out that this is the lowest level required to qualify as a professional. Given an SSS rank, their experience points double. Lin Yi is at level 11 now. The girls attain levels 9 and 8. Besides, the chest prize is computed. Thanks to the enhancement, it moves to diamond tier. Saying it's thanks to her that they have such great treasure, Mumu hugs BEIG. Opening the chest exposes many qualities: a giant's heart and a rising tide ability. Along with 3 marrow ash potions, a lance, and a platinum breastplate, there is, while somewhat increasing attack, the potions shatter weapons and armor. The lightning leaf increases weapon extra damage. Only knights have the lance and breastplate. Hence, Lin Yi questions whether a knight would soon join their group. Alternatively, BEIG might find use for them. She more like a tank or lone sword type, therefore perhaps not. Time will prove. Besides, the Rising Tide ability eliminates debuffs and heals everyone around. Having a new ability excites Lin Yi and she picks it up fast. He discovers his reversal power does not turn positive buffs into bad ones when he fights the knight. Rather, it removes debuffs. Therefore, Rising Tide might result in debuffs when inverted. Though random, it's a risk-free ability, especially as his reversal talent scales and changes effects as he levels up. Lin Yi says it's time to leave since he needs to report what happened here to the academy. He's positive this will raise a commotion. The next day in the president's office, the president smacks his desk, demanding to know whether it's true that Lin Yi cleared the entire Forest of Giants. As far as he knows, it's a calamity-level dungeon, and clearing it would need an SS rank. Sanguine confirms it's true, having been contacted by Lin Yi personally, with the alliance already certifying the feat. Moreover, Lin Yi has presumably obtained access to the Forgotten Nest. Of the 73 persons that entered the forest, 24 died and many others quit. The worst part is that if you fail once, you can't attempt it again. A man in glasses remarks that Lin Yi should wait until he's level 15 and has maximum assistance before doing something like that. The professor expresses gratitude, indicating the academy owes the boy a debt. He had even contemplated abandoning the professional test related to the dungeon and locking it off due to its complexity. But the man in glasses thinks that quality is better than difficulties. They need strong pupils, not another group of weaklings. The director confesses he was only regretting how the night had ended the lives of so many pupils over generations. Sanguine observes that the situation is far from straightforward. Suddenly, Mumu dashes through the door, holding up her phone, saying T here is trouble with Lin Yi's team. Since clearing the forest, rumors have surfaced online accusing Lin Yi of being the offspring of corruption or possessing demonic talents. People are stating no one can naturally have such talent, hinting he made a bargain with devils. She urges the director, who has known Lin Yi for years, to act on his behalf. Sanguine promises she will look at it. Online, a level 35 person uploaded a video claiming to have examined Lin Yi's skills and said he signed a demonic covenant. Comments abound, admitting that without such a pact, no genius could exist. They want Lin Yi show himself, or else validate he's associated with demons. The director assures Mumu she will investigate. The man in spectacles notes it's difficult to find out who these folks are. Sanguine comforts them, as the rumors mongers obviously have no connection to the alliance. Lin Yi shows up at that point asking to do a demonic aura test. They had already found the origin of the rumors, and it turns out the arrested individual was reporters rushed the alliance base, keen to find out why Lin Yi is testing. Questions fly. Is he linked to demons? How can someone have such great talent? Lin Yi looks at them. They all stop in uncertainty of what to say. He answers them, saying they should choose another career if they lack the bravery to ask him straight-front questions. As the scenario moves to the testing room, the reporters bickering among themselves, Lin Yi takes off his jacket and starts the analysis of demonic aura. Someone notes throughout the test he doesn't need to do this, since many already believe in his good intentions. Most experts value his strength. Still, Lin Yi says he is actually curious. He is doing this to inspire people who back him more confidence. Should Lin Yi fail, the man cautions he will be arrested right away. The test runs from 85 to 100%. The figures reveal 0% contamination. Surely, wouldn't it have hit 100% if he used his reversal ability? Unable to believe Lin Yi hasn't signed any covenant with demons, the soldiers applaud and tell those outside the result. Users of the underground web tick hub now assert he is the chosen one. He is the protagonist here, after all. If someone still questions him, Lin Yi offers to show his degree and qualities. Anyone having a difficulty can meet him either alone or in groups. Doesn't matter. Meanwhile, Xiaofeng sits up in bed, seething that people are falling for Lin Yi's ruse. He's convinced Lin Yi is a phony and recalls detecting a demonic vibe that day. But Lin Yi is currently casually wandering through the city after running errands. Xiaofeng tales him assured he'll locate something eventually. But Lin Yi delivers a kick and suddenly shows up behind him. Claiming he was only following Lin Yi to alert him about unusual events, Xiaofeng tries to play it off. He probes whether Lin Yi has come across any abyssal demons. Though naturally he has, and even killed some, Lin Yi denies it. Since he too received an invitation from those demons, Xiaofeng charges him of lying and exhorts him to tell the alliance. Lin Yi questions what the devils offered him. Xiaofeng says they're cowards who won't even show their faces in this world. It was hilarious how they approached him, given his protagonist-like appearance. Lin Yi is impressed that Xiaofeng rejected the abyss's temptation despite his attitude. Lin Yi walks away, declaring he shares Xiaofeng's disdain for the abyss. However, his talents are beyond those devils' reach. Xiaofeng, puzzled, has no understanding what Lin Yi means as he disappears. Later, Xiaofeng's phone rings. It's Lin Yi alerting him they've identified the guy circulating the rumors. When Xiaofeng asks who, Lin Yi responds it's someone named Cao Yuan. Apparently, Cao Yuan took Lin Yi's teachings, altered them, and is now trying to damage his name. Lin Yi directs Xiaofeng to capture screenshots of what Cao Yuan is saying and upload them on the forums, guaranteeing no further instructions are given to him. Xiaofeng asks if they can beat the guy up, but Lin Yi cautions against it. With a professional test looming, It's not worth compromising their future over someone like Cao Yuan. Xiaofeng then sends an image of a tutorial being developed utilizing information Lin Yi had supplied regarding the Land of Bones. It appears a fan group has arisen, working to safeguard Lin Yi's guidance from copycats. The community has grown large, with everyone receiving tutorials and helping eliminate fraudulent ones. Lin Yi's profile is swamped with over 1,000 messages, nearly anointing him the king of WhatsApp. He doesn't comprehend how all this happened so abruptly. Back home, Lin Yi finally examines his status and equipment. The interface is loaded with numbers, percentages, and mystical characteristics, but he misses examining them in detail. He messages a supplier asking priest equipment above gold level. 10 minutes later, the supplier sends a list apologizing for its limited availability. Lin Yi accepts, negotiates a discount, and makes the purchase. He also buys enhancement stones and enhances all of his items to +10. The supplier, curious about Lin Yi's purchasing spree, asks why he needs so much gear. Lin Yi avoids admitting that he's prepared for the land of the dead. He spends nearly 2.4 million alliance tickets acquiring a pendant, necklace, and a new healing staff. Using enhancement stones, he successfully forges them to +10. Confident, he feels this setup will secure an SS rank in the land of the dead. A disturbance outside his room draws his attention. Approaching, he sees Mumu uncomfortably wiping herself off. Startled, she explains her hot water isn't working, so she used his restroom, not expecting him to find out. He offers to inspect her water heater, but she declines, saying she's already showered. She looks excited to converse, but is interrupted when Lin Yi instructs her to get dressed first to avoid acquiring a cold. Flustered, she runs off and returns 5 minutes later. Mumu reveals that Bei has been moaning that the great sword doesn't suit her occupation. Lin Yi hadn't noticed, as Bei seemed to carry it effectively despite its weight. Mumu advises finding a hero's credential to allow Bei to change classes. Lin Yi offers to look into it. As Mumu gets up to depart, Lin Yi wonders whether tea here is something more on her mind. Caught off surprise, she hesitates before conceding that there is. She begged him not to laugh. Lin Yi agrees, and Mumu reveals she's been feeling distant from him lately. She's noticed that as Lin Yi grows stronger, the space between them expands. His surprise at her disclosure comes from not knowing it. Believing they would always be in sync, Mumu tells how they grew up and learned everything together. Now she feels Lin Yi doesn't need her anymore. She barely helps, resolving issues he could have handled on his own. She feels dead weight, unable to be a cornerstone for the team, even if she is pleased for his accomplishment. Lin Yi pats her head, assuring her she's being too hard on herself. But Mumu maintains he doesn't comprehend the sorrow of trying his best just to see others grow distant. She doesn't want to rely on him anymore. Lin Yi says he understands and offers to help her grow stronger. He lays out a stringent training program, no junk food, and regular 5 a.m. practice sessions to increase her skills. Mumu is doubtful, believing she merely needs ability points. Lin Yi adds that points aren't readily acquired and she'll have to train the old-fashioned manner. He hands her the giant's heart, stating it's excellent for her, as its effects double when she activates her clone. Encouraged, Mumu swears to stop junk food and train vigorously. She playfully pulls Lin Yi onto the couch, claiming that Professor Lin will test her bionic tear's potential. Summoning her clone, Mumu demonstrates her remarkable skills in massage, cooking, and cleaning. Time passes, and though unknown what transpired, Lin Yi eventually stands at his bedroom door. Thanking Mumu for visiting, he prepares to depart. Mumu asks if he's really traveling to the land of the dead now and proposes he rest. With a buff from her, Lin Yi assures her he's rested enough and suggests her and Bei to take a break instead. He activates the gateway to the country of the dead, opening a portal. The realm has a single entrance, and he selects catastrophe difficulty. Waving goodbye to the girls, he passes through the portal. Mumu attempts to advise him to be careful with this challenge, but it's too late. He is already into the definitely hard dungeon, which spans level 15 to 25. Lin Yi relaxes since, although the dungeon is challenging, there are no quick death mechanisms. This means he can progress gradually using his reversal and healing powers. The minute he initiates reversal, multiple notifications flash, suggesting that diverse animals are awakening. A sea of undead, all above level 15, emerges in front of him. In the heart of it all, T here is an item, a sword that would increase his damage by 50%. However, from his experience, Lin Yi already suspects that employing this item would lower his ultimate rating. To complete the dungeon, he simply needs to defeat one boss and survive for 2 hours. However, the specific criteria is to kill all the bosses, destroy the altar of death, and not use the sacred sword. He must achieve all this in under 2 hours, and the last job hasn't even been disclosed yet. Immediately, he activates Star Reversal and starts inflicting mayhem. Even though the creatures are level 15, they stand no chance. The protagonist unlocks one area of effectability after another. Monsters keep spawning, only to be annihilated instantaneously. The advantage of the priest class is its ability to easily acquire items that improve healing bonuses. When Lin Yi employs reversal, the perks change into greater damage. Another wave of undead approaches. He eats a tablet, thinking how the females had loaded his pockets with supplies. He also employs elixirs to improve his speed and energy recovery. While waiting for his talents to cool off, he runs past the zombies towards something at the middle. Upon reaching the center, he employs the new Tide ability in conjunction with reversal. Every enemy in the vicinity suffers with several unfavorable traits. At the center of it all is the Altar of Death, with 10,000 horsepower, accompanied by a zombie butcher with latent statistics. Lin Yi dashes ahead, using his clairvoyance to immobilize the monster. Meanwhile, his summoning, an effect from one of the necklaces he bought, attacks the butcher. As soon as any ability comes off cooldown, Lin Yi utilizes it instantly, maximizing damage and preventing the altar from regenerating. Shortly after, the altar is destroyed and the butcher is defeated. Another creature begins to spawn, but Lin Yi fires 2 lasers, destroying it instantly. He realizes that despite the terrible difficulties, it isn't as challenging as he had thought. The products he purchased are proving to be well worth the price. He summons the Black Curse Knight as its cooldown has ended. The creature morphs into a dragon, and Lin Yi keeps sprinting across the region, destroying foes as he goes. Eventually, he finds himself face to face with a figure seated on a throne. It's the Skeleton King, a level 15 boss, accompanied by an undead minion. Lin Yi gives the knight instructions for transformation and attack. The knight distances himself, though, calling Lin Yi master and trying to caution him about something. Unassuming, Lin Yi orders them to finish this fast. The knight charges, shocking the undead minion. Lin Yi starts his onslaught. Moonlight Slash is his summon weapon. It deals 1,440 damage. The zombie minion smiles as a ghostly green signal starts to shine. Rising and hurtling themselves at the knight, a swarm of zombies begins ascent. Activating a cursed shield, the knight reflects damage for 3 seconds. The minion appeals to the Skeleton King for aid. Someone walks behind the Skeleton King rising from the throne. Declaring he is the real opponent is Lin Yi. Reversing Blue Tide, he afflicutes the boss 2 debuffs. His summon finishes the minion in meantime. The knight sets off another cursed blast that apparently kills the minion. The minion strikes back with a black hole attack as the haze clears though. Lin Yi's summon barely avoids. Turning back, Lin Yi spots the minion getting ready for another strike. The knight drops another Moonlight Slash before the minion finishes its spell. Though split in 2, the minion finishes its self-destroying spell. From a distance, Lin Yi tells the knight to withdraw. It's too late. The minion gives its vitality to produce an eerie explosion. Luckily, the knight can already run away and strikes the back of the Skeleton King. Lin Yi strikes the boss a terrible blow using Catastrophe's Descent. The dungeon portal opens when both superiors are defeated. He might choose to keep farming the bosses or leave claiming his benefits. Lin Yi cures the knight, gets its energy back, and demolish the altar once more since he naturally wants the highest ranking. The knight changes into a dragon and launches to meet another boss. A flurry of ice shards rushes toward them as they get near. This time, Lin Yi notes, the pattern differs. Both level 15 bosses, a deaf dragon materializes alongside the Maiden of Death. Lin Yi understands from away that reaching an SS rating will not be simple. He sets reversal on motion and attacks the maiden. Beautiful yet brutal, she says he will die and labels him as a useless human. She launches an arrow, then the dragon attacks. Lin Yi promises her a surprise and beams. The knight avoids and Lin Yi strikes directly. The damsel asks whether that is all he can control. Lin Yi pauses the onslaught with a single finger though, mending himself in the process. Moreover, her skill meant to slow him speeds him instead. Confused, the maiden questions how it's possible since her arrow hit his chest straight forward. The dragon announces another attack and notes that something is obviously wrong. Another blow strikes, and Lin Yi once more recovers his health. His pace gets even more accelerated once the freezing effect is reversed. Lin Yi summons strikes from behind as the maiden gets ready another arrow. She senses something and turns. launching the arrow at him just as she draws it. With his blade, he blocks it. She understands she won't be able to evade in time. She calls zombies to try to stop him, but with a moonlight slash, he slices through them and strikes her stomach another blow. Both gorgeous and dangerous, the damsel starts a quiet spell. Her ability to be vampiristic saps the knight's health. She deftly protects with her bow even as he keeps striking. She runs suddenly at him, puts her hand on his back, says he will explode if this is how things are going to be. Applying a charm-based seal helps him to be under control for 60 seconds. She orders him to commit himself. She gets ready another arrow, saying this will be the end for him as the knight freezes, unable to respond. Every shot slows him down more by 800 horsepower. Lin Yi tells the knight to go to defensive mode since he already has half his health down. A shield materializes, greatly increasing defense while slowing movement speed by 70%. The maiden nurses, saying it's too late. He has already taken far too many strikes. The knight starts to withdraw, but right now his health is only 10% and he starts to fall apart. Although the maiden notes he fought well, this signifies the end for her opponent's friend. Odd tendrils start wrapping around her just then, and I am not sure where this is leading. Author, kindly stop. That's Lin Yi's confinement method. Lin Yi removes the debuffs from the knight using a healing wave while she is imprisoned, therefore restoring his health. Clearly in risky area, the maiden probes Lin Yi about her survival. Though the dragon strikes from behind, the knight kills it quickly. Ignoring, Lin Yi merely turns back the attack on the dragon, instantly vaporizing it. Confounded at the death of her pet, the maiden yells that neither of them has honor. But Lin Yi releases a healing pillar on her head and doesn't spare anyone. He orders the knight to handle one side while he clears another. They then kill the undead together. Lin Yi discovers soon he is on a mountain of dead. He now meets the first of 5 prerequisites. He feels, though, something is odd. The system informs that the second-winged angel Kuro will show up unveiling the 5th mission. He can decide to leave the domain of the dead, accept heavenly mercy, and get a recompense from Kuro. He might alternatively decide to destroy Kuro's projection. Accepting the god's offer will ensure an SS rating. But, should he reject the projection, he will get a rank so enigmatic it is beyond SSS, maybe Alpha, Beta, or Sigma. Not having heard of a level higher than SSS, Lin Yi is perplexed. Still, he understands the system itself creates the secret worlds. So, however unusual, it is not inconceivable that something outside SSS exists. Like faraway worlds, this rank maybe denotes something beyond human comprehension. A wingy thing in the heavens flares toward him. The knight is unsummoned as a divine aura blankets the battlefield. Lin Yi names the floating eye as the highest angel found in the Old Testament. But the letter mentioned confronting Kuro's projection. Where is it then? Then Kuro himself shows himself in the skies as a feather falls. His level is concealed. Even the system laments against challenging him. Kuro thanks Lin Yi for cleaning the land undead. He exhorts Lin Yi to leave this area and embrace holy thankfulness. Unimpressed, Lin Yi expects his pay for murdering so many critters. Furious, Kuro orders him to quit doubting an angel. He orders Lin Yi to leave right now by calling forth a fiery sword. Lin Yi, though, finds the angel's tone objectionable. Clicking somewhere in the system, he signals it's time to start the actual cleanup. He obviously won't let an angel like this to inherit his rewards. Pointing his sword, Kuro says that serving angels is the greatest honor humans can provide. Lin Yi's avarice, he says, merits divine retribution. Mid-sentence, Kuro almost gets hit and just avoids. Lin Yi toos him, urging him to quit talking and bring the battle. With a holy fall capability, Kuro responds with a lightning bolt almost striking Lin Yi. Lin Yi dodges and evades, bombards the battlefield. The angel thinks he has located the weakness of Lin Yi. Kuro shows behind him in an instant, striking Lin Yi's spine. Naturally, though, Lin Yi triggers reversal and recovers his health instead. Uncertain, Kuro withdraws and tells Lin Yi not to believe he can avoid divine punishment. He calls forth a large lightning circle that causes enormous damage. But Lin Yi's condition just gets better as he turns star reverse. As Lin Yi advances, the angel appears to be losing vitality. Still, the angel says Lin Yi is courting doom by daring to question someone from the heavens. But Lin Yi wonders to himself that this man is not particularly intelligent, even if he may seem frightening. Maybe this is only a projection. The angel's actual form is not this. Kuro is walking to find out why none of his melee, magical, or physical assaults cause any damage. Lin Yi notes the monster lacks knowledge of how he won his past battles. From above, Kuro inquires as to if Lin Yi possesses some kind of invincible ability. Lin Yi coolly says as the smoke clears that Kuro won't be able to damage even one hair on his head regardless of what he does. He starts title reversal, applies a lot of debuffs, lowers the boss's health to 40%, then he employs Calamity once more, then a healing surge. Deformed, the poor angel falls to the earth. Kuro starts to hurt, but Lin Yi strikes him one more time always, unrelenting. The angel so vanishes as only a feather. Lin Yi finishes the covert operation and gets an SSS rank and an extra diamond chest. The system says the dungeon will vanish and its power will show up as a special gift. Lin Yi gets Moon's Shadow, a weapon with unknown rating. Amazingly, the priest class owns this terrible weapon only. Still, given Kuro was a priest angel, it sort of makes sense. Lin Yi can give other objects up to raise the quality of the blade by using its passive ability, Devour. In redemption form, it heals attacking-related injuries. Deal magical damage in destruction form. Furthermore, there is a bodily form that deals physical damage and heals illness. Another version summons jellyfish-like aquatic beings. Still, another makes use of sand, therefore generating 30 possible forms. Basically, it's an amazing tool weapon both capable of healing or killing. The idea that it's a developing weapon that gets stronger the more resources Lin Yi invests into it really excites him. Opening 2 additional chests, he gets tons of stuff. The figures are ridiculous, plus 20, plus 30, plus 40, and 50. The figures are off the roof. Unstoppable, Lin Yi leaves the dungeon determined to seize the goddess's active buff by straight to another one. But right at the door is a fat man waiting for him. The man suddenly throws a spear, apparently striking Lin Yi firmly in the chest, and yells for him to die. Sadly for him, it turns out this is the same man who had been pilfering Lin Yi's manuals and was just imprisoned. Lin Yi only asks whether he's done complaining, even though the spear cut his chest. Lin Yi calls the man shameful for snatching his guide and still has the guts to criticize him after punching his jaw. The man begins to shake on the ground and leaps once again at Lin Yi. Lin Yi knows right away that he is radiating evil energy. Lin Yi understands this guy must have made a pact since he is dodging the attack. When a ghostly form materializes to ridicule the obese guy, he is simmering with wrath. The ghost tells him he was cautioned he couldn't match Lin Yi right now. It ridicules the individual, labeling him a minor character, a clown loathed by everyone. Poor guy. Let's be honest, he was totally out of his league here. The ghost continues berating him, stoking his fury, suggesting that to obtain more strength, he must truly embrace the abyss. The man collapses, his skin changing hue, announcing his grasp of how everything works now. Rising muscular and changed, he says he wants no more to live as a human. Lin Yi advises Cao Yuan he has turned into a corrupted demon. Cao Yuan ignores this, claiming his body is far stronger because of the abyssal power. Lin Yi tells him he had to be destroyed now by the law. Declaring there is no way Lin Yi can prevail, Cao Yuan raises his blade to signal it is time for Lin Yi to face his punishment. Cao Yuan strikes with an abyssal, horizontal slice, pushing Lin Yi back off. Oddly, Lin Yi avoids but gets cut in his abdomen from the abyssal strength. His attributes are diminished and he suffers more damage. Lin Yi unsheathes the shadow of this moon, cautions Cao Yuan not to hold him responsible for what is approaching. Thinking it's unfortunate that even with this power the man still isn't a match for him, he lunges for Cao Yuan. Although Cao Yuan notes Lin Yi is only as strong as a level 10 boss at most, his strike is blocked. Cao Yuan laughs. Sure, Lin Yi has put all of his points toward agility. Lin Yi sees this as the ideal opportunity to cover his reversal skills. Keeping his almost superhuman ability a secret, he chooses to overcome Cao Yuan without it. Cao Yuan is perplexed as to how Lin Yi can have such great stats even with a debuff since a single slice tears through her chest. Actually, the effect of the sword causes Lin Yi to be dealing additional damage. Aiming to entice additional demons to his trap while maintaining Cao Yuan alive, he strikes once again. From far, the shadow of the abyss follows Cao Yuan. It understands this pawn is insufficient to finish the work. He still lacks match for Lin Yi even after transformation. From Cao Yuan's body, the shadow shows up at last, pointing Lin Yi as the ideal target. Xiaofeng will lose his mission and become easy for capture if the demon could guarantee Lin Yi's death. Better still, Xiaofeng would become their slave should Lin Yi accept the deal. The devil naturally likes the second choice and targets Lin Yi another slice. Since this is only the beginning, Cao Yuan wonders whether Lin Yi is startled. Yet, Lin Yi stays calm and heals every time he strikes. They trade more punches, and Lin Yi says boldly in front of him that this is an abyssal monster, not Cao Yuan. Furious, the overweight man orders him to shut up and die already. Cao Yuan freezes just then. Beside him, the demon materializes, presenting Lin Yi with the amazing chance to accompany them. Lin Yi was just waiting for just this. Acting out of interest, he queries why he should follow them and what advantages he would get. Declaring that the shown power should be more than sufficient cause, the demon releases an explosive force. Lin Yi nods and acknowledges that this strength is really fascinating. He then inquires about Xiaofeng, the rejectee of their offer. Xiaofeng didn't know what was best for him, Cao Yuan says, even though he invited that blonde moron. Rather, he dared to disparage the power of the abyss. Lin Yi chuckles and agrees it was a waste of such a chance on someone so worthless. Claiming to be an unmatched brilliance, the demon remembers Xiaofeng had cursed him. The demon murmurs fiercely that Xiaofeng never saw his own value. Realizing Xiaofeng wasn't lying about confronting the demon, Lin Yi notices the demon's intelligence is like Xiaofeng's. Then he advises the demon to connect with him, rather than squandering energy on Xiaofeng. Drawn in, the devil probes why. Lin Yi says he already commands the confidence of Alliance experts. With his soon-to-be leadership post and great influence, they may cause anarchy all throughout the planet. Confused, the demon probes why someone meant for success would seek to wipe off the planet. Lin Yi creates a narrative asserting human hypocrisy. He bemoans how professional hunters should defend others, yet his parents perished horrifically after the strong abandoned them. This civilization, he contends, lets experts take advantage of the weak. The world needs to be run under strong leadership since there is no honesty remaining. Should none of anyone be innocent, everyone is due death. Motivated, the devil agrees and declares Lin Yi to be exactly correct. Understanding Lin Yi's suffering, the devil leaves Cao Yuan's body tearingly. Approaching him with an orb of vitality, it invites him to become part of the abyssal family. Together, it suggests they will wipe out this dirty planet. Declaring he's ready, Lin Yi opens his arms. Lin Yi sets Moonlight Blade in destructive form as the demon approaches. Too late, the demon discovers it has been duped. Lin Yi strikes first and reduces its health by 40% before it can react. Wasting little time, Lin Yi deals extra 2,000 damage using reversal, therefore earning an attack bonus. He then launches a tidal strike, causing 4,000 more damage. Confounded by how a human priest could inflict such terrible injury, the demon seeks to leave. Lin Yi drops catastrophe on it, leaving the demon crying for help, desperate knowing it has no chance. Lin Yi tells it coldly there is no escape, pointing out he knows the demon cannot change bodies when in combat mode. The monster knows from the beginning Lin Yi recognized all of its powers. Lin Yi agrees, stating the whole interaction turned out to be a trap. Retaliation with an abyssal hand slash, the demon aims to murder him then and there. Lin Yi teleports away though, so the attack misses totally. Furious, the demon circles and unleashes the same attack once more, squarely in Lin Yi's chest. Believing this eventually, the devil smiles and announces Lin Yi's death. But Lin Yi triggers reversal, heals himself instead. Declaring the monster dead, he performs the last blow, so emptying its health bar entirely. The system reports that Lin Yi vanquished an abyssal demon. Moonlight Blade starts consuming the energy of the demon and gains +5 in every quality. Discovering the blade not only develops by eating objects, but also by absorbing abyssal energy excites Lin Yi. Lin Yi sees a gathering nearby, attempting to make sense of what's occurring as the demon's might withers. Spotting the dead body of the demon, some are phoning the authorities. Soldiers show up shortly, telling Lin Yi to drop the weapon. One of them gestures at him, telling him to keep still and place hands on his head. Lin Yi follows, releasing the sword. Assuring Lin Yi it won't hurt, a soldier employs a paralysis spell. His arms are under control, and he knows these men are in charge of maintaining city safety. Lin Yi chooses not to object as none of everyone knows the whole background. Conflict would be useless. Starting to examine the scene, the soldiers calm the throng and get ready to send the wounded to the hospital. One of them bolts over to tell that one of the unconscious people exhibits signs of abyssal power. Oddly, it also came upon the corpse of an abyssal demon. The soldier is perplexed, seeing the corpse of a level 20 beast that seems to have been chopped several times and energy deprived. Whether it's a projection or someone filmed it, it's unclear whether they are viewing a video of Lin Yi landing a strike. Still, they obviously are disturbed. The lad before them is only level 11. Hence, he hasn't even qualified as a professional yet. A red-haired man advances to announce himself as squad leader Wang Makio. He breaks the paralysis spell and queries Lin Yi about his demon-killing technique. Lin Yi acknowledges it was he who overcame Wang, who had been corrupted by abyssal force, and Kyo Yuan as well. Makao notes this but questions how it happened. Lin Yi says the demon showed up and granted Kyo Yuan power as soon as he started to turn corrupt. Lin Yi waited for the demon to leave the body, acting to accept, then knocked it down. The soldiers were perplexed, since they had never heard of such an incident before. Makao notes that fooling a beast like that would be quite tough even for a professional. Although he knows Lin Yi is becoming more and more famous, he says the circumstances are too unique for a student. Lin Yi will so have to be temporarily arrested. Makao expects Lin Yi to help the alliance whilst the issue is under resolution. One of the troops disagrees, pointing out that Lin Yi is only a student with a good reputation, therefore why punish him this way? Makao agrees, but says the situation is more severe than first anticipated. They have to follow accepted practices for the security of Jiang City. He tells Lin Yi he's sorry. This might postpone his professional test. Lin Yi appears more bummed over losing the almost expired goddess's luck buff. Nonetheless, he offers to aid with their studies on abyssal demons. Makao's phone rings out suddenly. Lin Yi is not needed to be detained, said a superior officer. The lawsuit will be postponed till after Lin Yi finishes his professional test. Uncertain, Makao wonders why such a set protocol is being disregarded. The officer reassures him that the decision came from the top, therefore Makao won't be held accountable. Moreover, Lin Yi's professional test must be expedited, since he has already cleared the Forgotten Nest alone. Makao is incredulous. He himself had attempted the nest and failed, so he finds it hard to think this kid could fight that night. Awkwardly, Lin Yi asks if this means he's no longer under investigation. The officer confirms, advising Lin Yi to go about his day and to call in the pros if he needs anything. Makao returns Lin Yi's sword and says he has one question. Lin Yi asks what it is, and Metro inquires if this occurrence is connected to what happened with Shafing. Not holding back, Lin Yi says the demon that attacked him is the same one who tried to fool Shafing but failed. Makao ends this logically, since Shafing most certainly possesses an ability to magnify power via abyssal energy. Lin Yi understands the demon was so fascinated in Shafing since it intended to take advantage of her skills. The officer thanks Lin Yi for not only slaying the monster but also for giving important information. Lin Yi notes he has more to share, but he wants solitude. Makao clears the area, ordering his team and the people to leave. Once the area is secured, Metro apologizes to Lin Yi for the prior treatment. In a clandestine session, Lin Yi explains that the sword he got from the Valley of Death can absorb abyssal power. The officer asks what Lin Yi wants to do with this knowledge. Lin Yi theorizes that, as the officer undoubtedly knows, little is understood about weaponry capable of evolution. However, he thinks a common attribute among such weapons is their propensity to expand by defeating abyssal beasts. The cop confirms hearing about these weapons, but adds they are so rare he's only encountered references to 3 in his career. Moreover, the details are classified, and even he knows little about them. To his understanding, these weapons normally evolve through dungeon goods, not by fighting real-life monsters. This is the first instance of a weapon gaining experience straight from combat. The officer appreciates Lin Yi for supplying such crucial information. Lin Yi offers a complicated deduction. If one weapon exists with this ability, there are certainly at least 2. More importantly, these weapons may serve as humanity's trump card against abyssal demons. The officer agrees, reminding Lin Yi that such confidential information must not be shared with anyone. As the old saying goes, wealth brings strife, and anything this rare would definitely provoke envy and greed. He regrets that not all people with power are as altruistic as Lin Yi, and if they were, the world would be a better place. Unfortunately, that's not the reality, therefore he will report this to his superiors. The officer recommends Lin Yi to complete his professional exam swiftly, telling him that the Alliance will contact him soon. The call finishes. Returning Mactra's phone, Lin Yi thanks him. Mactra salutes, adding he's excited to see Lin Yi ranked. The scenario then moves to a conference when a military official asks the group about Lin Yi. One police officer remarks on Lin Yi's extraordinary aptitude, likening him to Song Wen-yan, among the most gifted people of his generation. He notes how Guan Yang was supposed to guide this generation, but Lin Yi might outperform even him. Another white uniform officer notes on the difficulty in understanding the younger generation. Still based on Lin Yi's ability, he thinks the lad is a lucky prodigy with unbounded promise. Still, during the meeting, a weird black energy stays on the floor. It disappears, then resurfaced in the center of the city before fading into the nothingness. Announcing Miga's death, it sets us on a dismal planet. A strange creature, perhaps a monster, or some sort of stonies aware of Lin Yi's name. Lin Yi eventually goes back home. Hiding behind this sofa, a scary beast is preparing for attack. Looking a little lost, Lin Yi calls out to Mumu to come out since he has already seen her pointing at something nearby. Frustrated, Mumu shows up complaining he could at least act as afraid. Lin Yi queries why she is at home rather than in training. She says she's been working hard and reveals her system, confirming she's reached level 10. Lin Yi appears actually impressed for the first time. Mumu asks hastily whether they might visit a prison together tomorrow, but Lin Yi pulls her cheeks and demands to know whether she stayed up all night. She disputes it. He insists it's okay. They can go to the dungeon side by side. Mumu discloses the key for her quick advancement. She may essentially do two at once by sending her spiritual clone to simpler realms. Lin Yi finds it remarkable that her call has no time or location constraints. It might even fight on its own in a dungeon without her orders. Mumu validates this by mentioning that her clone is presently exploring a dream dungeon. Lin Yi approaches closely to question whether she can fight and oversee several dungeons at once. Envy driving him, he sits next to her and admits he would want an assistant like that. Then he wonders whether she really has limitless vitality, thereby enabling her to spend unending time in dungeon. Weary of the questioning, Mumu switches the topic. Lin Yi answers on his phone saying he will recalculate her leveling plan from 10 to 20. Her eyes flash as she probes what it entails. Given her skills, he developed a leveling plan. They will have to change her equipment and leveling path once they know the powers of her clone. Inspired, Mumu agrees, keen to learn more, till Lin Yi requests her 3 most crucial metrics. Demanding to know why he requires such personal knowledge, Mumu kicks him. He coolly says it's to fit her gear and figure the stats needed for best recovery. He contends that giving her clone traits based on her measurements will provide her advantage. Unimpressed, Mumu bolts, annoyed. Still concentrated on his computations, Lin Yi argues the measures are required for excellence. Still unclear about how her measurements might be useful, Mumu stands up angrily. Lin Yi grinks, taunting that he also requires his own measurements to finish the design. Still, if she is reluctant to share, that is okay. Furious, Mumu slams the door and charges him with asking measurements from everyone. Lin Yi sighs, wishing he could have only aided her get stronger. Mumu assures herself in her room that the objective is improvement, and that it's only numbers. She gets a measuring tape. And she pauses though, not ready to expose her actual measurements. She wrestles with her ideas, then grabs something and tosses it aside. She has been hiding 2 big bundles of fabric, it turns out. Angry, she pictures Lin Yi mocking her and worries her image would be damaged. Then she gets a really great idea. She will get the dimensions using her clone, Little Mumu. She calls forth her shadow once she finishes her dungeon. She ties the tape around it when it shows that the measurements will now be accurate. Outside, Lin Yi hears the disturbance and questions what sort of anarchy is underway. 10 minutes later, Mumu shows up with her measured notes. Mountains have an enormous count. Examining the article, Lin Yi wonders whether there is a mistake and warns that inaccurate data could impede her training. Mumu insists it is accurate. Lin Yi agrees, but cautions her that mistakes could compromise her advancement. She freezes, grabs the paper, and marks the 80 for the mountains, then changes it to 80 in the back. Lin Yi flicks her forehead and says now it's right, and she's at last stopped lying. Lin Yi proceeds right away to find out whether the other female, Lin Yi, has also sent measurements. Mumu responds that she turned down not because she is reluctant to provide her measurements, but rather because she wants to save more of Lin Yi's time. She even emailed him a medical document including all her data and measurements to show her faith. She did, however, clearly ask Lin Yi not to devote too much time to her. Lin Yi wonders whether she is acting really considerately or too dramatically. Still, he feels it's only fair as he is the best team player. Then Mumu says her spirit has developed a new ability. It can now call forth more smaller spirits to support her in fight. Lin Yi asks whether this is some sort of infinite summoning bug by arching an eyebrow. Mumu clarifies that this time it's different. Little Mumu's summoned spirits are only useful within dungeons, not in the actual world. Her lack of knowledge on how it works is the sole issue here yet. Lin Yi says there is no better way to find out than in a dungeon and snaps his fingers. The following instant, they are within the hard difficulty level Lizard Tribe dungeon, ranging from 8 to 10. Lin Yi remarks on his ease navigating this dungeon. Seeing his new sword, Mumu questions about it. Lin Yi shows by passing the blade over her arm, activating her healing form and rapidly restoring 300 horsepower. Though she acts as though it's not significant, Mumu is impressed. Then she orders little Mumu to demonstrate what she has discovered. The mechanism announces with a bell when the summoning power turns on. The entity of the tree spirit has been summoned. Before them towers a level 10 tree knight composed of bark. Lin Yi really seems impressive. The summon by alone is quite sufficient to destroy the boss for this dungeon. Mumu might ultimately call forth creatures more powerful than Lin Yi's knight as she grows. Though not quite heavenly, her talent is not far off. Eager to try the power, Mumu exhorts the knight to attack. She orders, the tree knight charges ahead. The underprivileged lizard guys dash toward them only to be flattened right away. 2 minutes later, the tree knight casually offers Mamoru a like in this video to enable him to create more meaty content for his audience. Turn on the cheeky small bell, and I am out.